Yat she'eya Leona baya yin she. Deschini dene shlon ashihe bashichin. Bit ani dashinalado zilin bit ani dashiche. Awat is soninshle. I'm from Mini Farms, Arizona, and currently residing in White Cone. I am a self-taught weaver and have been weaving for more than 30 years. All of my weaving tools were made by my mother and my grandmother, and to this day I still use them. I hold them so dear to my heart, and not a day goes by that I don't miss my mom. But she's there for me, and she's the one that makes the sound of the rain, makes the sound of the thunder, and that's what all of the weaving tool represent. It's the sound of rain, it's the sound of thunder, it's the sound of the lightning. It's the rainbow that I see every day. And those are the weaving tools that I have, and I haven't added anything again. So I'm a weaver. I've been weaving full-time for more than 30 years now. And I also come from a line of weavers. Today it's just myself, my aunt, and my cousin's sister who weave from our family. I remember as a child growing up in Mini Farms. My grandmother raised Chero sheep, and then she also had goats, mohair goats. So during springtime, she would get everybody, my aunties and my uncles and my mom and dad, and she would get everybody, and then everybody would do a family day, and we'd cheer. And then she would sort the wool from there, which one she wanted to keep, which one she wanted bagged. And then I would see her washing the wool. She would use yucca. And I remember some parts of, her putting some wool into damp sand and shaking it out. And I really don't know the purpose of that, but I used to just, watch her. I never really asked questions as well, too. So at the time, I didn't really dawn on me if I was going to be a weaver or not. But I did, witness my grandma doing these things. And then after she got done, she would instruct us, my siblings and I, my cousins. And we sit in her hogan, and, at the time there was no TV. There was no electricity, so we had to sit around in her hogan and, to a kerosene lamp. So most of our evenings were carding wool. So we would take turns, my cousins, my siblings, and I take turns carding wool and box them up for her. And then certain days, I would see her spinning either in the evenings or sometimes during the day, or she would take them with her while she's sheep herding out there, out in the pasture. She would spin wool out there. So that was my childhood. I was in carding and spinning and processing of sheep wool. The carding process is that you're basically just brushing out the wool and preparing for spinning. And this is where you can also blend colors together to get your grays and beige colors and different kinds of brown. I use a lap spindle to spin my wool. I know there's a lot of different types of spindles out there that a lot of weavers use, but I feel more comfortable with the lap spindle that my grandfather made many years ago, which I still use today. I usually dye all of my wool after it's all spun. All of my yays are earth tone colors. And then my yays represent a lot of things, they represent protection. It represents the good tidings that we receive every morning from the sun ray. And they always say, open your door. Let that good feeling come into your home. That's what it represents. A long time ago, they were used in ceremonies, and to this day, it's still used in ceremonies to heal sick people. Whatever is bothering you, we always find ways to heal them. In some of the major big ceremonies, they use sand paintings. Very, very unique sand paintings that nobody draws out on the sand. It's all done by visual. It's all done by hand. How you sprinkle that colorful sand, that's what this whole thing is. I've done some sand paintings in ceremonies, and believe me, it's not like weaving. But I enjoy those. I don't add it into my weaving. I just keep my yays just the same way as I've learned it. So I don't add a lot of stuff to it. A lot of the other designs and some of them are very sacred. And I keep the sacred yay sand painting away from my weaving, so I totally respect that part. So it's been pretty much challenging every day for me. So I guess it's just who I am. I've been inspired by two beautiful ladies in my life, and they were my grandmother and my mother, and they've been weaving most of their life. So one day I put up a small little loom secretly, and I started from there. After I got done, I showed my mom, and my mom kind of just chuckled at me a little bit, and she told me that I had the hang of it. And then on my next piece, I made my loom a little bit larger. And ever since then, it's been a non-stop weaving thing for me. So I kind of continue with the family traditions of yay. I've been weaving yay for quite some times now. They are, I believe in the power of gods. They are protectors. They are the good tiding in my life. They bring joy. They bring happiness. They bring patience. They bring so much into my life, into my home. And also I've traveled to so many different areas through rug weaving. I've seen so many places, from New York City all the way down to Hawaii. And those are the travels that I've done. And thankful for the rug weaving that I've picked up from my mother and my grandmother, and to this day I cherish it with all that I am. As growing up, my grandmother would tell us, these plants. She would talk about the plants. She would talk about the sheet from the feet on up, all the way down to the tail. And then shearing time, she would talk to us and which parts of the wool to use. And at her sheep camp, she had mohair. She also had churro. She also had just a Rambouillet sheep. So it was kind of like a mixed herd. And sometimes she would, gather a small bag of certain things, and she would take it back to her sheep camp, and she would card there. And during our winter times, we would spend our winter 2-week break with her, and we would sit in her hogan and we would play the Navajo games, the traditional games. And then from there we would sit behind her, and then she would tell us how to card. So we card wool for her, make a big old pile of bait for her, and then during morning time she would start spinning again, and we would sit near her and watch her spin. And those are the things that I remember. Those are the things that I've learned just by watching. Then after I started my rug weaving, I've used the machine spun. I've also used the hand spun. So I've been experimenting both wool. I trade wool. I buy wool from other people, and then some of my friends, they give me wool. My introduction in Navajo is an appropriate way of expressing where I come from, and then it's also finding relatives along the way of my travels.